My name is Anna Davis, whose name has been changed. My job requires me to work late. And every night, when my shift ends, I have to pass a specific location on my way home. That is the old bridge over the Cedar River in suburban Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This bridge has been here for a very long time, with rusty metal beams and an old concrete deck. The Cedar River below looks very dark and deep at night. The water flows swiftly, creating eerie murmuring sounds. It is quite deserted around the bridge, with only the faint yellow street lights shining down, casting strange shadows. I don't like crossing this bridge at night. It always has a gloomy and isolated atmosphere. Even though I have crossed here hundreds of times, every time I step onto the bridge late at night, I feel a strange unease creeping into me. It feels like something bad has happened here. The wind blowing through the bridge's gaps creates terrifying whistling sounds. The sound of the swift flowing river below is like the whispering of something that doesn't belong to this world. I usually try to walk very fast across the bridge, not daring to look down at the dark river. The feeling that something is hiding beneath the black water always sends shivers down my spine. I don't know much about the history of this bridge, or the river below, but I know that something is wrong here, and my unease is not unfounded. My commute home at midnight goes across the bridge over the dark river. And one night, the false sense of peace was broken. The unease when walking across the old bridge over the Cedar River at night always haunted me. The feeling that something was hiding beneath the dark water always sent shivers down my spine. One night, as I was walking home, as usual, I went up onto the bridge. It was quite cold, and there was a thin layer of mist hovering over the river. When I was halfway across the bridge, I suddenly saw something. On the other side of the bridge, not far from where I was standing, there was a person, a woman. She was standing at the bridge's railing, looking down at the river. At first, I thought it was just a normal person standing on the bridge at night. But then, I looked closer. The woman was wearing a long white dress, looking old and damp. Her hair was long and loose, covering most of her face. She stood there, motionless, under the faint yellow street light. I walked closer, and then, I saw, she wasn't real. Her figure was blurry, translucent, as if made of mist, or from faint light. Her clothes looked completely waterlogged, even though she wasn't in the water. Her hair dripped water continuously, but there was no puddle of water at her feet. It was a ghost. The ghost of a woman. I froze in terror. My heart pounded in my chest. She still stood there, looking down at the river. Then, slowly, very slowly, she turned her head and looked towards me. And I saw her face. A pale, gaunt face. Her eyes were wide open, looking straight at me. Empty eyes, lifeless, as if not seeing anything. That empty gaze sent shivers down my spine more than anything else. As if she was looking through me, looking somewhere else. A deep sadness and loneliness were evident on her face. I stood there, staring at the ghost of the drowned woman, frozen by fear and astonishment. She didn't do anything, just stood there, looking at me with that empty gaze. The ghost from the dark water had appeared. And I had seen her. The bridge over the dark river was no longer just a scary place. It was the dwelling place of a trapped spirit. And I, on my commute home at midnight, had met her. After the first night I saw the ghost of the drowned woman on the old bridge. My life changed. My commute home at midnight, something I always felt uneasy about, had now become a real nightmare. The following nights, when I got off work, I saw her again, always in the same spot, always on the bridge, near the railing, looking down at the dark river, always wearing the long, damp white dress, always with her long, loose hair, always with her pale face and empty eyes. She was always there, like a terrifying reminder that what I had seen was not a hallucination or imagination. This terrifying repetition made my fear grow stronger and stronger. Every time I got off work and approached the bridge, my heart would pound. My legs felt like they wanted to run away. But I knew I had to cross it to get home. I tried to walk very fast across the bridge, not looking directly at her, only glancing at her from the corner of my eye. But even then, the image of the blurry ghost, the pale face, and the empty eyes was deeply etched in my mind. The feeling of being watched was always present. Although she didn't look directly at me immediately, I always felt as if that empty gaze was following me as I passed by. The air on the bridge at night became colder and gloomier. That cold wasn't just the cold of the weather, it was the cold from a supernatural presence. The wind whistling through the bridge sounded like someone groaning or whispering. The sound of the river flowing below sounded like muffled sobbing. I didn't know why she was there, why she appeared every night. Who was she? How did she die? Those questions kept swirling in my head. The visitor I meet every night, the ghost of the drowned woman, had become a part of my nightly commute home. This terrifying repetition made me feel as if I was trapped in a loop of horror. I didn't know how long I could endure this. Every night, when I got off work, I knew I would see her again. And that fear, that terrifying repetition, was slowly destroying the peace in my life. The ghost under the bridge was still there, waiting for me every night. The following nights, as I continued to get off work and cross the old bridge over the Cedar River, I began to notice terrifying changes in the ghost of the drowned woman. She was still in the same spot on the bridge, but sometimes, her posture was slightly different. Some nights, she stood closer to the railing, as if about to jump. Some nights, she was slightly bowed, staring intently at the dark water below. The most terrifying thing was her empty eyes. At first, those eyes only looked straight into nothingness. But then, I started to feel as if those eyes were following me. As I walked on the bridge, trying to walk very fast, I felt as if those empty eyes were watching my every step. That gaze was emotionless, lifeless, but it scared me more than any other gaze. One night, as I was walking past her, I suddenly saw something on her hand. A pale, bony hand, appearing slightly swollen, seemed to be moving slightly. She reached out her hand, as if to touch the railing, or as if to reach for something. That sight froze me in place. The movement of a ghost. I quickly walked away, not daring to look back. I didn't know why she was changing. Perhaps my presence had attracted her attention? Perhaps she wanted something from me? This terrifying change made me feel that the ghost wasn't just simply repeating the last moments of her life. She was reacting. The bridge over the dark river was no longer just where she appeared. It was where she was waiting. I lived in constant fear. Every time I got off work, I knew I would see her. And I didn't know how she would appear tonight. Her eyes following me, the slight movement of her hand, all were signs that the ghost was becoming more active. I started to feel that I was being targeted. Perhaps her death was very tragic, and her spirit was full of anger or despair. And that anger or despair was directed towards me. My night shifts had become sleepless nights in the true sense. The terrifying change in the ghost of the drowned woman was a warning. The terrifying change in the ghost of the drowned woman and the feeling of being targeted by her made it unbearable for me. That fear haunted me day and night. I decided I had to find out about the history of the old bridge and the Cedar River below. I searched online for information about incidents that had happened at this bridge or on the Cedar River in the Cedar Rapids area. I looked for old newspaper articles, local history websites, and even forums about paranormal phenomena. I found many terrifying pieces of information. The Cedar River wasn't just a normal river. It had witnessed many tragedies in the past. Many boating accidents, many suicides, many drownings with unclear causes. In particular, I found a few stories related to the old bridge. People said that this bridge was a hotspot for suicides and drownings. Then, I found a specific story that sent shivers down my spine. The story of a young woman who mysteriously disappeared many years ago. And her body was found in the Cedar River, not far from the old bridge. The cause of death was determined to be drowning. But there were many questions surrounding her death. There were rumors that she was murdered and thrown into the river, or that she had committed suicide out of despair. Her name was Mary, whose name has been changed. The story of Mary happened around the 1990s. Within the time frame you requested, I looked at the old photo of Mary that came with the article. Her face was young, but her eyes looked sad. And then, I looked closer at the photo. Mary's face had a resemblance to the pale, gaunt face of the ghost I saw on the bridge. Her hair in the photo was also long and loose, similar to the ghost's hair. A horrifying truth suddenly dawned on me. The ghost of the drowned woman that I met every night was Mary. Her spirit was trapped here after her tragic death. The bloody history of the dark river explained why the ghost appeared here. The bridge and the river were where she had died. Perhaps, her anger or despair was still there, haunting this place and the people who passed by. I understood why the ghost appeared every night. She was trapped, she couldn't leave, and perhaps, she was trying to say something. The secret of the dark river was now revealed. And it was even more terrifying than I had imagined. I wasn't just simply meeting a ghost. I was meeting the spirit of someone who had died tragically and mysteriously. And she was still there, under the bridge, in the dark water. The truth about Mary and her tragic death made my fear even deeper. I knew that the ghost I met every night was not a random phenomenon. It was the spirit of someone who had died tragically. And perhaps, full of anger or sadness. I still had to walk across the old bridge every night to get home. And every night, I saw Mary. She was still there, on the bridge, looking down at the dark river. After knowing her story, I looked at her with different eyes. Not just fear, but also pity and empathy. One night, it was a night of heavy rain. The Cedar River flowed faster than usual, and the sound of the water was very scary. As I walked on the bridge, I saw Mary. She was still in her usual spot. But this time, she looked different. Her figure was a little clearer than usual. Her pale face was full of pain. Tears seemed to be streaming from her empty eyes. She looked straight at me. And I felt as if those eyes were no longer empty. They were full of despair. She reached out her hand towards the river, as if wanting to point at something, or as if wanting to ask for help. Help me, a faint whisper, like the wind blowing, echoed. The voice sounded very weak, but full of pain and despair. I froze. She had spoken to me. I wanted to do something to help her, but I didn't know what to do. I stood there, looking at her, feeling helpless. Mary's figure raised her hand to her face, as if she was crying. Then, she slowly turned her back to me, looking down at the river. She stood there for a while, then slowly dissolved into the rain and darkness. That was the last time I saw Mary so clearly. After that night, I still walked across the bridge every night. And sometimes, I still felt her presence. Sometimes, I still felt the cold draft radiating from somewhere near the bridge. But I no longer saw her figure as clearly as before. Perhaps, the fact that I knew her story and felt some empathy had made her less active. Or perhaps, she had realized that I couldn't help her find peace. The final encounter with Mary was a scary and emotional experience. It confirmed that she was still trapped there, full of pain and despair. The ghost under the bridge is real. And she is still there, unable to find peace. My commute home at midnight across the old bridge will forever be where I remember Mary. The drowned woman with the empty eyes. I don't know if she will ever find peace. But I hope that one day, her spirit will be released. My story is a warning about the tragedies that happen in places we least expect. And about the trapped spirits who cannot find peace. If you enjoyed these true horror stories, or stories based on accounts and unexplained mysteries, like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel to follow our latest videos. We will bring you more terrifying and haunting stories. Thank you for listening.